Hello and welcome to Master Your Mindset with your host, Isis Foster. This is the place to be for anyone who is on a personal development journey. I will be sharing with you my own mindset hacks and personal past experiences. Please subscribe and share if you enjoy what I'm about to share with you and you've taken value from it. You never know who may need to hear it. This week I want to talk about a subject which literally I never knew the importance of this until my life kind of felt like it was getting overwhelming and I had no idea why. And now looking back on it, I kind of think the reason why I felt so inundated with the goings abouts of life was because I had no boundaries. So today I'm going to be talking about how important it is to set boundaries in your life, whether that be in a workplace, whether that be in friendships, or even just personal boundaries with yourself, because we all live such busy lives, no matter what we do, no matter how we spend our time or what we do for work or the people we hang around with. And before you know it, you can actually be inundated with things that you've agreed to because you felt a pressure to be able to say yes rather than turning it down. So today I want to talk about how important it is to go with what you know is right for you rather than what you think is right for the people who you're making plans with. Because so many times in my past especially, I have said yes to events, parties, social situations when I know deep down I would have actually preferred to have spent that time doing something that's going to fill my cup up. So I'm just very aware now of those things which drain me, people who don't make me feel good when I'm around them, and I have completely removed myself from those kind of situations. So if you are someone and you're at a place in your life where you are always feeling a pressure to go out to parties or attend that event or go and see your family because that's what you feel like you have to do, rather than go there and be present because you actually want to be there, then you need to set some boundaries for yourself. And I know it can be so daunting at first because, trust me, I have been in that place. But the beauty of setting boundaries is that once they're set, people will acknowledge them and they'll know then not to cross that boundary. Believe me, I've had so many friends in the past who have said, oh, come on, Isis, why don't you just come to this party? You can go home early, try and make every excuse in the book. And a little bit of that is endearing because obviously they want you to be there. They want you to be present. But I always think now my mindset around social events is this going to make me feel good when I leave? Am I going to feel filled up when I leave? Am I going to feel good about myself when I'm no longer in that event? Or am I going to be kicking myself because I've gone to an event which I was pressured into and now I've left? I know that time could have been used doing something more valuable to myself. So this is something which I speak about a lot of the time with clients that I mentor and even friends and family, because especially around this time of the year where there's such a pressure on going to so many Christmas parties or Christmas work drinks, everything is very festive at the moment. And it is so easy to fall into that trap of, oh, I'll just go to this thing or I'll go to that thing. And that's why I think a lot of the time when we go into the new year, we all feel so drained. And it's because we have burnt ourselves out this side of the year, going to all these different things, showing up to all these different events with so many different faces, so many small talk conversations to be had. And sometimes I think, would it have actually been better if I'd actually just stayed at home, run a bubble bath and watched a bit of Netflix and done some journaling? Because 9 times out of 10, you will find that you will put yourself in a situation because others have pressurized you into that. And if there are no boundaries set, then you will stay in that venue or that event for hours and hours and hours to come home, and the next day you will be kicking yourself that you didn't say no to begin with. Like, I'm speaking from experience because that has happened to me so many times. So if you are someone who is easily swayed by others, the way to set your boundaries is simply by just saying no. People will respect your boundaries once they're put in place. If you are someone like myself a couple of years ago who kind of just went with the flow, which by the way can be a beautiful thing, but when you are someone who gets burnt out easily, like I used to be, then you need to set those boundaries from the get-go so people know where your limits are. If you are someone who's like, oh yeah, okay, let's just go and I'll spend an hour there, even though you know deep down you don't really want to be there, chances are you're not going to spend an hour there. You're going to be there for hours on end, and then you're going to come home and feel completely burnt out. So setting boundaries is something that only you can do yourself. You are the only person who knows your limits in social situations or work settings or whatever it may be, but only you will know how far you can be stretched. And I think especially this is so important this time of year, because there are so many events and so many things going on with different people in different groups. You need to set your boundaries from the get-go. So if you know that you've got a busy week coming up, for example, at work, but there's a party on a Saturday night, if you want to be at that party, then by all means go. I am absolutely in no position to tell someone not to go to a party. But if you know that is going to affect you for a week afterwards, then you need to kind of think to yourself, is it actually worth going to that party? Or would I be more productive and feel better about myself if I just stayed at home and just put everything together in prep for the next week ahead, especially if it's going to be busy? Because that's literally what I do now. Rather than saying yes to everything, I think, is this going to fill me up or is this going to drain me? Because if it drains me, ultimately I actually don't have the time to be able to reverse that situation. Life is so busy, and especially with this time of year, everything is kind of catapulted and everything is all happening all at once, because obviously we're all celebrating the lead up to Christmas, which is so exciting. But you need to make sure that your mental health is in the right place, because what's the point in celebrating Christmas if you're going to feel shit about yourself and feel so drained? So setting boundaries can be literally as simple as saying, no, sorry, I don't really feel like it tonight, or no, sorry, I'm actually doing this instead. You don't need to lie, and that is something which I've learned. In the past, I used to make up all these crazy things about what I was doing or a different event that I was going to, and I think honesty is the best policy, as cliche as it sounds. Just being completely honest and saying, actually, no, I'd rather be doing this tonight. People will respect you so much more, and no one else is going to tell you that you should be somewhere else if you have put that boundary in place. So set your boundaries from the get-go. Don't let people push you into a corner to make you feel like you should be agreeing to something if that is actually not what you want to be doing. You can set boundaries in so many different ways. There's so many different techniques which I use with my personal one-to-one coaching clients. In terms of setting boundaries with different people, because I know depending on the situation it can be a little bit tricky, but people will respect you a million times more if you are just firm with your decision and you set your boundary. There's no way they're going to push you over that line then. So if you are someone who gets worried about people's opinions and you're scared about what their reaction is going to be, just remember that if you go to that party and you don't actually want to be there, the way that you're feeling afterwards, they're not going to be feeling. Only you are going to be feeling that way. So make sure that you are doing the best thing for you. And it just means that in the future, when you say no, they're not going to be pushing you into a corner again to try and agree with them, because you've already set that boundary in the past. And from personal experiences, it works so much better if you are just straight up to the point and honest, because it means that when you do spend time with them, that is because you want to spend time with them, not because you feel like you have to, and they will know that as well. And I think that is one of the best things about setting boundaries. People will respect your decision a million times more if you are clear from the get-go, rather than making up reasons and excuses as to why you can't be there and then showing up somewhere else. For me, I absolutely love, especially this time of year, love having chilled weekends in, because it's just so freezing cold outside. And I don't know if I'm the only person, probably not, but parties are all well and good, but the hangover is usually never worth it. And it is so much better this time of year just being all cozied up at home. And I think that is a legitimate reason. That is a perfect reason as to why you don't have to attend a party if it's not going to make you feel good afterwards. So in terms of setting boundaries, just make sure they are set and then you follow through with them, because the first time you set it, it may be a bit tricky because it's uncomfortable to you. You haven't done it before. But the more events you get invited to and the more boundaries you set, even with spending time with certain people, there may be people you don't want to spend time with. If that is the case, it's only going to be tricky the first time or the first couple of times, but you kind of get used to it. And I now actually prefer being able to say no to things than going along with things for the sake of it, because I know deep down, and I know I'm not the only person that feels this way, because I've had this conversation so many times with close friends of mine. There's nothing worse than being somewhere that you don't actually want to be, because you're clock watching, you're wishing the time away, and time is so precious. It's literally the most precious thing we are given on this earth. So why would you want to waste your time in a situation that you don't really want to be at if it's not going to benefit you? So just make sure that wherever you are, whatever you're doing exactly what is right for you, and you will be the only person that knows what is the best thing for you to be doing. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed listening to my podcast, I would love it if you shared this podcast on Instagram and tag me at IsisFoster1. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I can't wait to tune in next week with you.